So my name is Lauren Garvie. I am a person in long-term recovery. I was heavily addicted to drugs. I was an IV drug user, using heroin, crack cocaine, living on the streets of West Asheville back when they were like building up those new houses. At night I would go stay in the houses while they were being built. And then in the morning when I would hear the workers come, I would just sneak out the back real fast. And so that's kind of where my stomping grounds were, always kind of West Asheville. And so, I would get in trouble with the law, I guess you'd say, like a petty criminal for stealing, larceny, theft, things like that. And I just kind of lived that hopeless lifestyle of just getting high all day, getting money, breaking the law, stealing from people, hurting people, and it ended up with me going to Buncombe County Jail 41 times, and I even got sent to prison 5 times. So, frequent flyer, in and out. I just kind of didn't have anything left to give. I was hopeless. At that point in my life, I really didn't care if I lived. I just didn't have anything. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have anything that made me feel human. And I wasn't really treated like a human by the people that I interacted with, like, officers, which is pretty much the only people I interacted with, except other people who use drugs. And so there just wasn't a whole lot of love in my life. And so when I went in that 41st time, I just I didn't have anything left. And what I remember is I was looking in the mirror, in jail they have metal mirrors, so they're not a great reflection, but I remember looking at myself, and the reflection I saw was foreign. I didn't know who this person was. I was like a skeleton, I was real skinny, and I looked unhealthy, and I had bags under my eyes, and I just remember thinking, who is this person? And so I was doing my time in jail. I didn't really have a whole lot of thought. I always went to jail and thought, man, I don't want to live this life anymore. But I really didn't have the means or the heart or any kind of encouragement to do anything different. And so I didn't really know what recovery was. Nobody had really spoken that kind of life into me. And so I just kind of went about my business, and I'd make friends in the jail. And I remember this girl, she was like, you need to come to this jail group. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to this group. And she's like, but you get out of your cell. And I was like, okay. I said, well, now we're talking. If I'm going to get out of my cell, I'll go to this group. And I think a lot of why I didn't want to go to the group was because I had so much shame. I didn't want people to see who I really was. I just wanted to live like a recluse, right? I wanted, I didn't want people to ask questions or dig. I wanted to just be left alone. So I built up this courage, but more or less I built up the fact that I got out of my cell, and I went into this group. And really just from the moment I walked through the door, I felt a strange presence. There was a volunteer there. It was a volunteer for Sunrise. Her name was Char. She'll be fine with me sharing her name. She started talking about her story and the things that she had overcome, and her story was a lot similar to mine. And then she talked about where she was now. And all I thought for a minute was, this was, for one, the first time I had really heard anything about recovery, or heard anybody talk about their demons and now how everything has become their strengths. This peer just had a real way of just connecting with folks through her lived experience. And I think in that moment, I had never heard anything like that. And it was exactly what I needed to hear in that moment. I needed to hear what she had been through, and the pain and the hurt, and how she had overcome it and used it to, give back to others. And I just remember sitting there, and I was like, wow, that's cool. And so I went to these groups every week. I'm pretty sure I've never looked at another human and said that I needed help. And I stood, there's these like red lines in jail and you can't cross the red line, and Shar was standing on that one side of the red line and I'm standing on the other side, and I'm looking at that red line because I can't make eye contact with her because I'm so full of shame. My whole life I'm just full of shame and this guilt of the things I've done. And I look up at her for a split second and I say, I need help and I don't know what that looks like. But she said, I want you to go here when you get out. And it was a little card with Sunrise's address. And so I'm on foot. I'm walking, I'm in clothes that don't fit me because the jail had to give me warm clothes because I went in, it was warm, got out, it was cold. And I walk to A-Hope and I eat like 4 peanut butter sandwiches, and the lady has to do an intake with me and she starts asking me really hard questions, and I just start bawling and I just start saying, I need to get here, and I'm holding this little card for Sunrise. And she stops her interview or all these difficult questions, and she says, we're gonna get you a ride over there. And they did. They got me in some van and the guy took me over there, and I got to Sunrise's door and it was Kevin Mahoney sitting there. He's like, well, what do you want to do? And he's like, I think I want to go to long-term treatment. And he's like, well, we can find out ways. And like in that moment, I'm talking to Kevin, and in comes Shar, the same lady from the jail. And Shar just sat with me, and we worked on my applications for these treatment centers. Kevin won't admit it, but I'm pretty sure he made some calls for me and got me in right away. And I just remember that this was like really the first time in a long time that I had just felt love. Like I had just felt authentic people around me that didn't want anything from me. They just wanted to see me do well. And I didn't know what that felt like until really that moment, or I hadn't felt that in a long time. And so I went to long-term treatment. I had my own struggles with that. We know early recovery is not easy, and I'm not here to say it is easy, but I stuck with it, and it really just began with peer supports seeing me, not trying to change me, not asking me those hard questions, not making me dig into everything that's happened to me in my life, but just saying, what is it that you need and how can we help you get there? That's what changed my life. Sunrise hired me, and I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I just thought I was so cool, and Sunrise is a big part of how I found my voice. I have done a ton of work in the community. I've done a lot of stuff with social justice. I volunteer in the jail. I did the jail group that